Have you ever felt like there was more out there? Like you were just scratching the surface of what reality has to offer? Well, I'll tell you that you were right. Just beyond a thin veil lie secrets that the rest of the world just isn't ready for. Guarding these secrets is a committed group of brave men and women ready to lay their lives down to defend the world from things that it cannot understand. Things that defy the laws of science. This group is known as the Bureau of Control, and it is only for the best and the brightest. So my question for you is, do you want to see beyond that veil? Are you ready to know those secrets? We, as always, are going to start with the game's combat. The game spends the first few hours or so as an average third-person cover shooter, although you do have a force-push style melee attack, but then blooms into a unique, super-powered action shooter game. Throughout the game, the player finds new ways to customize their weapon that completely change how combat works. You also find quite a few reality-bending abilities with which to dispatch your enemies. The abilities that you get in the game are pretty simple when compared to other superpowers that we see today, but their effectiveness cannot be denied. The first ability, and in my opinion the most powerful, that you get is Launch. Launch allows you to pick up any random object around you and turn it into a deadly weapon by throwing it at enemies with an auto-aim function. If there aren't any random objects lying around for you to use to kill your enemies, don't worry. You could just rip a chunk directly out of the wall. You also get Dash, Levitation, Mind Control, and a Shield. Abilities in the game work through the use of a paranatural energy that regenerates over time. And when your energy is low, it's time to turn to the other half of Control's combat system, the gunplay. The weapon used in the game is no ordinary handgun. It is in fact a paranormal entity of its own. And to avoid spoilers, I'm not going to give it away. But I will say that the lore behind the service weapon is actually quite extraordinary and creative. The service weapon has multiple firing modes, which reminded me a lot of the Judge Dredd movies, in which Dredd can tell his gun to change its ammo type, giving him access to many different types of munitions. The weapon's standard setting is a semi-auto firing mode, similar to conventional pistols. You can also unlock shotgun, full auto, sniper, rocket launcher, and adhesive grenade launcher firing modes. As I said, the game only starts off as a cover-based shooter, and shortly after you start your adventure, you will find that relying on cover too heavily becomes ineffective and a lot less fun. The combat in the game is designed in such a way that the most fun and effective way to fight your enemies is to use the overwhelming power of your abilities to strike enemies down while your energy lasts. Then use the dash ability to avoid enemy attacks and the service weapon to deal damage while your energy meter refills. As the game progresses, you will feel enough like an unstoppable force that the need for power fantasy is fulfilled, but at the same time, the game still challenges you. I must applaud the developers here, because they have managed to strike up a very good late-game balance between the game becoming too easy and the enemies becoming too powerful. The enemies in the game start off basically as just guys with guns, but progressively become more powerful, diversified, and interesting. The main antagonist of the game is actually not a particular individual, but is instead an extra-dimensional force known as the Hiss, which has infected the top-secret government facility in which the game takes place, the Oldest House. The hiss infects the minds of the agents of the Bureau of Control, affecting each individual differently and causing them to become aggressive to anyone not infected by the hiss. There are the aforementioned hiss agents that just use guns, but from there you have hiss that levitate and explode when in close proximity to the player, hiss elevated that fly and throw objects at you, healers, invisible hiss, hiss that use shields and telekinetic attacks, and last, but surely not least, the hiss troopers have heavy armor and weapons such as miniguns and grenade launchers. There are also mold enemies that, in my opinion, resemble clickers from the Last of Us franchise. Aside from these enemy types, there are also the bosses, which are, for the most part, tied to optional missions, and offer unique encounters that are quite a bit more difficult than the average enemies in the game. All in all, the game offers a well-made and lore-based lineup of abilities, weapons, and enemies that is sure to keep players interested and challenged throughout its runtime. Control implements a few special features that must be mentioned when talking about the game. Weapon customization is handled fairly uniquely. The service weapon shapeshifts into different forms. These forms are unlocked throughout the game using a resource known as Source, along with components which are both dropped by defeated enemies. In combat, collecting Source also refills your health bar. As you progress through the game, you will also find modifications for your weapons that are randomly dropped by enemies or earned as mission rewards. These weapon modifications change the service weapon in a variety of ways, some of which include increasing damage by a percentage, increasing weapon accuracy, increasing range, or increasing rate of fire. There are also a few mods that are specific to each service weapon's form and offer a unique change to the weapon. Modifications have levels, with higher level modifications offering better stat boosts, but the stat boosts for each mod are slightly randomized, meaning that every level 3 mod will be better than every level 2 mod of the same type, but every level 3 mod of the same type that you get will have slightly different stats. Each weapon form starts at level 1 with 1 mod slot, but can be upgraded up to level 3, which has 3 mod slots, using Source and components. Personal mods work similarly to weapon mods, but affect your character rather than your weapons. You start with 1 personal mod slot, but as you spend points in the game's skill tree, you fill a meter that unlocks up to 3 personal mod slots. A few personal mods include a max health boost, max energy boost, energy recovery boost, and health recovery boost when picking up Source. There are a few more, but I myself focused on health and energy personal mods. As mentioned, the game has a skill tree in which the player can use ability points they earn by leveling up and completing missions. Each perk of the skill tree upgrades your character's base stats, increases the effectiveness of an ability, or unlocks sub-abilities. The sub-abilities add interesting and useful twists to unlocked abilities, such as enabling you to launch enemy grenades back at them, launch low-health enemies, or even launch multiple objects at once. The game's progression system is well made, with modifications giving the game a looter-shooter style aspect, and the skill tree offering meaningful perks for your character and abilities. While nothing is ridiculously innovative, it all fits together nicely and gives the game a very good balance between power fantasy and realistic challenge. The game's storyline is pretty straightforward. You meet the main antagonist within the first hour of the game, the Hiss. You then try to find a way to defeat it, and from there you move on to the game's final showdown. All of this taking place over the game's main campaign of 10 to 11 hours. Now, I don't mean to say that the game's storyline is uninteresting or, not made very well. I actually want to applaud the game's developers for taking what is basically a linear storyline with very few plot twists and masterfully crafting it into a gripping narrative. You see, Remedy Entertainment uses something in this game that is rarely seen used as effectively as we see it here. And that thing is mystery. The game has very few plot twists or major turns because the game will take you down a narrative path, and then before the twist or the bend in the road comes, it'll stop short. This leaves the player staring off into the shadows, wondering what is hidden in the darkness. I know that this sounds vague, so I'm going to give you an example. There is a janitor character in the game that you are introduced to early on, and at first he seems like a simple side character. But as the story moves forward, you realize that there is much more to him, and he appears to be much more powerful within the oldest house than he lets on. The game never reveals any more about the janitor than what I just told you. Whole storylines in the game intentionally leave you with more questions than answers. Questions like, what exactly is the hiss? Who or what is the guiding voice in my character's head? And what is the former? Aside from the campaign and side missions, the story of the World of Control is fleshed out very well by astounding, I repeat, absolutely astounding collectibles. I would say that piecing together the stories presented by the collectibles in Control is better than I've seen in any other game I've ever played. There are reports written by members of the Bureau, video logs from Dr. Darling, and even recordings from a very strange children's show. All the collectibles follow narratives that run parallel to the game's campaign and really work to keep you immersed in the story. Along with the main campaign, there are also 2 DLCs. The AWE DLC takes you on a journey to battle a new enemy and also reveals that Alan Wake, another game developed by 505 Games and released in 2010, shares a universe with Control. The Foundation DLC has you going to the foundation of the oldest house to discover what happened to Head of Bureau Operations Helen Marshall during the campaign and what she's been up to this whole time. I'm now going to move into my final review score and any final thoughts that I have on the game. So I'm going to come right out and say that this game is excellent. Control is a game that takes the third-person shooter genre and elevates it beyond anything that I've seen in a while by mixing in that little tad bit of horror, creepy horror, and placing the game in an immersive world. You feel all the time as if you are always being watched, which is definitely helped by the cameras in the game continually following your movements as you walk through the halls of the oldest house. It's one of those games that it's an experience to play through. By the end of the game, when you reach the climax, you'll realize that the climax of the game is good in itself, but that mind-bending journey that you went through to get there is going to be completely unforgettable. Really, this game was something quite special, and I'm very, very glad to have played it. Now, I do have some stats that I'm going to rattle off here about the game, so I have them written down so I don't mess any of this stuff up, because there's statistics here. So, the game, it came out in 2019. Now, it actually came out of nowhere. I actually completely missed that the game had come out at all. I wasn't doing YouTube then or doing reviews or anything, but I completely missed that it had come out until I saw a review of it from Angry Joe and Skillup. Those are the 2 guys that I watch the most. And at the time I was like, oh, it wasn't advertised so well, so I thought maybe it wasn't the best game, even though they recommended it. So I didn't get into it until just recently. So as I said, the advertising campaign wasn't the best, but it actually did get acclaim from both players and critics. And this is the stats that I wanted to read to you. It was nominated in the 2019 Game Awards for 7 categories and won Best Art Direction. I really want to give it to, well, I have to give a hand to 505 Games here and developer Remedy Entertainment, because we are in a time right now where there are just champions of the gaming industry, people that, companies that we've always looked up to, who right now have been putting out just disappointing games. And then, kind of like I said, out of nowhere comes this little game from people whose games I don't think I've ever played, and they just bring you such a great experience. And so I really have to take my hat off to them, and just, you know, this is actually what the video games industry should be all about. Great storytelling and fun gameplay. Hey guys, I hope that you really enjoyed that video, and I hope that you really enjoy the game Control. It really is quite an experience to play. It's a special game, and I'm so glad that I've played it. And if you haven't yet, I would definitely suggest going on to the PlayStation Store and getting it. I know that for PlayStation Plus members, a couple months ago, it was free. If you put it into your library but never downloaded it and took the time to play it, stop what you're doing. Finish this video. Then don't do anything else until you've downloaded the game and played it, because it is an excellent game. It was really something to play. Make sure, guys, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. As of right now, making this video, I have 201 subscribers. Once I hit 250, I'm going to do a $125 cash giveaway. So get your mama, your papa, and your grandma all to subscribe to the channel, become members of the Action Pack, and help me hit those milestone goals, so that way you guys can be entered in to win, or a chance to win some money back from the channel. Also, make sure that you follow me on Twitch, because at some point in the future I'm going to transition to only live streaming that 100% of gameplay that I live stream for games that I review. I'm going to be doing that only on Twitch. Now, don't worry if you don't have Twitch, if you're not interested in doing that. I will then upload those live streams onto YouTube, but you will not be able to watch them live. You will be watching a recording of a live stream. So if you want to continue to watch those live, you got to go to Twitch. Also, make sure, if you're interested in chatting with me, voice chat while I am live streaming, you can follow the link down below for the Discord. That will allow you to voice chat with me while I'm live streaming. Don't worry, the people, like, your voice will not be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. I will be the only one able to hear you, well, along with other members of the Discord, of course. Make sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm putting up stuff all the time about the channel up there on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm also on Facebook. I also put up a little post every time that I go live, so that way you can kind of track what I'm doing there. I just want to say thank you guys for watching again. If you've gotten to this part of the video, I really appreciate you watching the video all the way through. You guys have been so great. We've grown so much. It's been a blast. I love you guys. My audience is awesome. And it's just really good to see the growth, and to see people liking, commenting, subscribing on the video. If you want to support the channel, right now the best way that you can do that is actually 100% free. Go down underneath the video. Make sure to, like I said, comment, give me a like, but then also share my video on social media. I am a small content creator. I pay for advertising on multiple platforms, but no advertising that I pay for would ever be as good as you, my viewers, sharing my content and recommending my videos to your friends on social media. But that's all I've got for you guys. Again, I just want to thank you guys for supporting me in all the ways that you do, and watching my videos. I just want to say one last time before I let you go, God bless you all, and have a good night.